Welcome back. Sarasota didn't corner the market when it comes to dysfunction on the school board. Manatee school board members gave their neighbors to the south a real run for the money. Of course, there was the incident where the school board member, Dave Miner, just got a little bit too close to Chairman Scott Hopes in the parking lot and threatened the efforts to remove him as board chair. Without a doubt, the school board has had its challenges. The district was nearly taken over by the state in 2012. Its superintendent just left. Like every school district, Manatee has had to deal with the aftermath of Parkland. And joining us for more are two candidates for District 2, incumbent Charlie Kennedy and challenger Alice Cadets. I welcome you both to the trapezoid. I want to give you both a minute to make the case to voters out there why you deserve to be on the school board. And Charlie, you're the incumbent. Why don't we start with you?
Okay. Well, as you heard in the intro, I'm basically running on my record of the past 4 years of being on the board. Up until 2018, it mostly had been pretty smooth sailing. We were engaged in a financial and academic recovery of the district. This year has been a little bit, as you alluded to in your opening, has been a little bit different. And as in your opening segment, now we've got some new issues, including the, an issue with one of our deputy superintendents. So my ask to voters would be, just kind of look at my track record. And given the challenges that we have in front of us, I think if they look at my track record, they'll see that I'm well suited to continue the job.
Alice?
I have raised 6 children here in Manatee County, so I have watched, I've been to board meetings for the last 25, 30 years, so I'm very aware of what's been going on. It has been a roller coaster. The past few years has been very turbulent, to say the least. I think that those issues would be best served by somebody new stepping in and maybe a different perspective on things. Thank you.
All right. Our conversation with the candidates for District 2 on the Manatee County School Board continues. Welcome back. We are inviting the candidates for the Manatee County School Board to debate, and joining us for more are the two candidates for District 2, incumbent Charlie Kennedy and challenger Alice Cadets. And as we all know, elections about winners and losers. And Alice, let me start with you and ask you to make the case why voters should fire Charlie.
I don't think he's done a very good job over the last 4 years. We haven't done a whole lot to improve our reading levels. There's been a lot of bickering going on at the board, of which he has, in part, always been in the middle of that. So I just think that the district could do better.
Charlie, why should voters choose to re-elect you?
As I said, the track record of my past 4 years, the previous year I was the chair of the board. We had even though we were doing some big, heavy lifting items like completely redoing our policy book, which is the board's job. That was contentious at times, but we got it done, and we got it done in a smooth manner. And I've always tried to be a consensus builder and a bridge builder on the board because we do have some big personalities there. Mrs. Cadets is right that 2018 has been kind of an outlier year, I believe, and we've had some personality issues, we've had some clashes. But the one that I have been involved in, which was attempting to remove our chairman, which was, as I said at the time, was a reaction to the comment about having a gun in the parking lot of the school district building. That was what I thought was the right thing to do in the interest of fairness, because if that was one of our teachers or students, they would be, at minimum, they would be disciplined. And I made a move to do that because I thought it was the right thing to do. I think it sent a message to the community that we will hold each other accountable and that we are not above the law, so to speak, as school board members. And that turned into what it turned into. And I let that once it became a political issue and there was an opposition candidate involved, I dropped it and I thought, let's settle this down, because it was being portrayed in both newspapers as the dysfunction argument. But at the time, and even looking back at it now, I really thought that was the right thing to do at the time, for the sake of the image of the school board, but also to hold us accountable to our students and to our employees.
Okay, we are just getting warmed up. We have a lot more to go over. Our conversation with the candidates for District 2 on the Manatee County School Board continues after a quick break. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. We are inviting the candidates for the Manatee County School Board to debate, and joining us for more tonight are two candidates for District 2, incumbent Charlie Kennedy and his challenger Alice Cadets. We've been talking a lot about the personalities on the school board and how the school board in general has gotten together, but Alice, you've been pretty out there in terms of what your opinions are, because you've been quoted as saying that you were embarrassed by the behavior of the school board and that members of the school board cannot be trusted. But when you refer to yourself, you say, I am not part of the group. So on one hand, how are you going to build a consensus if you think inherently that no other members of the school board can be trusted?
I'm talking about the three voting members, or if you notice, the board generally has the three that vote together, my opponent and then two other board members. They pretty much control the direction of the school board at this given time. Just some of the decisions that they make. I haven't liked the fact that they took away the teachers' insurance from them. The teachers have just been losing so much lately. Our classrooms have been losing a lot. They are taking our children with learning disabilities and throwing them back into the classroom. And I'm hearing from the teachers that a lot of these children are not ready to go back in the classroom. They've never.
But in order to reverse some of the things you're talking about there, don't you have to work with other board members to reach a consensus in terms of what to do?
It may be a little difficult in the beginning, but yeah, I think we'll work it through.
Do you believe you are the district antagonist, as the newspaper referred to you as?
Sometimes maybe. But I don't know why, other than I comment on newspaper articles. I don't get up and speak at the board member meetings. I don't do anything to, I have been told to be quiet a few times, but other than that, I do try to behave myself at the meetings. And like I said, I've been to a lot of meetings over the years, so I have a pretty good idea of what's going on. And again, I got on the ballot by the way of the petition process, so I have talked to well over 3,000 people in Manatee County to come to the conclusions that I have come to.
And Charlie, let me ask you about what's been going on the board there, because we have all watched it on television, we have all read about it in the newspaper, your efforts to remove Scott Hopes as the chairman of the school board, his issues with other members of the board. A lot of people see the dysfunction, and a lot of people are just, frankly, they're concerned about their kids getting a good education, and they don't like the theater that they're watching at every school board meeting.
Yeah, and that's a valid criticism. That there, in my perception, there have been times where the five of us on the dais have made it about the personality conflicts, and egos have been bruised, and we feel like we need to save face. And I think that has definitely happened where we have lost sight of our mission, which is educating kids and serving parents and serving this community. In fairness to us, I think we've put a lot of that drama behind us. We had a couple of really good sessions with the FSBA. We had a master board training, and we talked through a lot of these issues about how we can handle each other better, how we can run the meeting better, respect each other's time without cutting each other off, making sure everybody has a chance to speak. So I think we've seen a dramatic improvement since the issues that we ran into in March and April. And hopefully that will continue forward. We're going to have a new board here. No matter how this all shakes out, we're going to have a new board come November. We're really in August, because this race and Mr. Cologne's race will be decided in August.
Let me ask you this, because Alice said in Jess's setup story that she is concerned about the reading results for third graders as an indicator of how they do later on in their educational careers. Are the third grade reading levels where you want them to be, and do you and other board members have a plan on how to make test scores better?
Am I happy with it? Absolutely not. Manatee County is at 49% proficiency, and proficiency as graded by the state of Florida, by the Department of Education and the system they put forward. The state's average is 50%, so we're 1% below state proficiency, which is also very poor. Now, of course, where the board can get involved here is we can ask the superintendent, or through the budget process, we can, for example, say we want to shift more money to K through 2. Usually school districts in Florida, they tend to focus, they put their best teachers in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade because those are the grades that are tested. When really, I believe what we need, and I think my board colleagues would agree, is really we want to put our strongest people and our strongest efforts, I think really your strongest people is really what you need there, in K through 2, so you're building that basis for 3rd, 4, and 5.
And Alice, I referred to your remarks about the test scores, but let me ask you this, because the school district was nearly taken over by the state back in 2012, and we have seen improvement. Do you give your opponent and other board members from really basically coming back from the brink?
We hired a superintendent who brought in a COO that was really good with numbers, and I think that most of the credit goes to those two people. And then he was asked to leave. So, and now it's basically going back in the wrong direction again as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let me ask you this, because I believe that you were not supportive of the superintendent's job that she was doing while she was here, but you do give her credit for bringing in certain people that turned things around?
No, not her. The superintendent before her.
Okay.
How she became the superintendent.
All right.
It's a real long. It's a mess.
Okay. Let's talk a moment about school security. Obviously, Manatee County, like every school district in the state, was really put in the situation where that you've had to scramble in the aftermath of the Parkland massacre to put some kind of school resource officer in every single school. School districts have done it in different ways. They've been hamstrung in terms of finances and how quickly you've had to come up and do this. Charlie, how would you defend what the school district has done here in terms of making parents think that their kids are going to be well protected when they come back in just a matter of days?
Okay. Let me back up to the beginning. Just shortly after Parkland took place, the superintendent, who Mrs. Cadets has nothing good to say about, even though she is widely admired and praised for the job that she did for the past 3 years. Certainly there are problems, but to say that Dr. Diana Green did a bad job, I think is just a ridiculous statement. But Dr. Green and local law enforcement and the board sat down shortly after Parkland and said, let's come up with a plan. This is what we're going to do. By the following Monday, there was a moonlighting police officer on every single Manatee Schools campus. Other counties around us were still bickering about their options. We, through Dr. Green's leadership and law enforcement's leadership, came up with a plan immediately. Now, what we're left with now is the legislature funded what's called the Guardian Program, and they called it that on purpose because they knew they were not fully funding certified law enforcement to guard our schools.
Are you supportive of a Guardian program?
I'm not, and let me preface this. I was not at the beginning, and still I believe our best option is certified law enforcement. I do feel better, and I think our parents and kids can feel safer because nearly all of the 24 guardians that we have hired are former military or former law enforcement.
Alice, let me ask you that same question there. Are you comfortable with non-police officers armed in our kids' schools?
I don't think we have a choice right now because we don't have the necessary amount of officers to place in the schools. So this is the second best thing. It's the only choice we have, other than none.
Is the right option here forming your own police department?
No. We do education, law enforcement does police work.
Alice?
I agree with that.
All right. What about in terms of, obviously you've had a lot of challenges, Charlie, in terms of the finances of the school district. You supported the increases that we talked about here. What other steps that you need to take in terms of getting the school district on a good financial footing?
Well, the school district is on a good financial footing. I agree completely with Mrs. Cadets on this again, too. As you mentioned, we came back from the brink of state takeover in 2012. Superintendent Mills took over. He began the process, and Dr. Green became superintendent in 2005. Since then, our bond rating has gone up 2 times. Our fund balance has surpassed 5%. We're mandated by the state to have 3%. That's the first time in recent memory we've ever hit 5%. So we're on stable financial ground.
And I want to give you a chance to respond to that, but we do have to take a quick break. We'll be back in just a moment. And our guests join us right now for final thoughts. We have 2 minutes left here. So Alice, what is the one thing that you want our viewers to walk away from this conversation with?
I want them to get out and vote. I want them to take the time to find out who the candidates are. I know in many elections this is just the primaries, but they really need to take the time to look at who's out there and who's available to vote for, and take the time to vote.
Quick question. What is the one biggest policy difference that you have with Charlie?
Probably my push for education. I haven't really heard him say a whole lot about that. Ever since I started this, my campaign has been about getting more money into the K through 3 grades, making sure that they have aides in the classrooms, things like that. Again, because of the emphasis that is being put on when the children fail. If we have 50,000 children, 50,000 students and 25,000 fail the 3rd grade, that's possible 25,000 people every year that are going to end up in jail, and those numbers are unacceptable.
Charlie, we will respond to that if you'd like, and also just tell us what you want our viewers to walk away from tonight.
Well, I would just walk away from, or I would hope viewers would walk away from this with an interest in the race. Manatee County, our race is kind of running under the radar a little bit because you have some bigger personalities than the other ones. The League of Women Voters, Jess Dowdrick did a profile on all of us here at Channel 7. There is lots of information. I've been talking about education issues for beyond 4 years, even when I was a teacher at Manatee High School in the classroom. We both have plenty of positions out there between questionnaires and interviews we've done. You can find me on social media. You can find, I have plenty of position statements out there, and folks know how to reach me if they'd like to learn more.
Thank you both. Before we go, we want to share with you what some of you had to say about last night's show on the Suncoast's efforts to preserve the environment. A growing number of local restaurants and stores are getting rid of plastic straws and bags, while many states and communities are banning the use of plastic straws and bags. Florida has yet to make any changes. Paula says the plastics are hurting sea life. I say do away with plastics. It's a step in the right direction at least. And Kim says simple, walk on the beach with a bag and pick up what you can. Every little bit helps, especially our Gulf critters. Well, if you'd like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, just visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/mysuncoast. We want to thank our guests for being here tonight, joining us, incumbent Charlie Kennedy and challenger Alice Cadets.